Hi, it's Mark Bossert from Top Local Lead Generation. We're here today with award-winning Vancouver wedding photographer Josh Bowie, and we're going to talk about a real kind of frequently asked question that's one of the most important ones. How are you doing today, Josh?
Good, Mark. Thanks for having me on.
So why why would I invest in a professional wedding photographer?
Well, I think the main thing that you get is just the experience and the expertise that those photographers have, just from so much experience of shooting so many weddings. You just develop an expertise that is different than someone who's just doing it as a hobby, or just kind of shooting for fun on the weekends or whatever. So I think that's kind of the main thing that you get.
So, everybody's got a camera on their phone. I mean, the phone really isn't even a phone anymore. It's more of a camera in how it's used. Um, Do you notice a trend in people hiring their friends to do their weddings?
Yeah, I don't know if it would be a trend. I mean, there's definitely a lot of hobby photographers out there that are shooting, and I do have some clients that will mention like I've got a friend who might be able to shoot it, and so that is out there for sure. I don't think that anyone really wants to have a friend shoot it, and just kind of hope for the best. I think mostly when people are hiring a friend or thinking of hiring a friend, it's a budget issue for the most part. People are just trying to find a way to save a bit of money. So I don't think that anyone is really wanting, to have their friend who's a hobby photographer shoot it.
So, have you heard any horror stories of people hiring their friends and the photos not being the best?
Yeah, I've heard a few. I actually have a very good friend who hired a family friend to shoot it, who is actually a professional photographer, but more of a commercial photographer, and hadn't really shot a lot of weddings before. And she was devastated. I mean, they literally didn't have one good photo just of the two of them. Everything was kind of shot with an artistic flair of some sort, and kind of the camera twisted, and half of them came out of focus, and it just wasn't his area of expertise. Even though he was a photographer, he didn't know where to be. He was kind of always caught in the wrong place at the wrong time, and for her, it was a major regret for sure. I mean, it's risky. You're kind of just hoping for the best. So
So, I guess that really comes down, that's one of the things that people get when they invest in a pro photographer. But what else? What separates you from an amateur?
yeah, like we said at the start, I guess I think it's mostly the experience and the expertise of having shot so many weddings, and really mastering your craft. I've got a little analogy or a story I can share if you want that kind of helps to explain it.
Sure.
Um, so, the story goes there's a man and his wife, and they're in Spain on a family vacation, and they end up bumping into Picasso. And the guy thinks, what a great opportunity, to have a painting of my wife, done by Picasso. And so Picasso says, no problem. Why don't you come back in 6 hours, and I'll have this, beautiful portrait finished. So the man goes off, and he comes back, 6 hours later, and Picasso's just, finishing up the final touches of the painting, and it's beautiful. And then it kind of comes time to pay, and Picasso says, well, that'll be $30,000. And I think, well, it's a lot of money, but it's Picasso. And so he's writing the check, and he makes a joke to Picasso saying, it must be nice to make $30,000 in 6 hours of work. And Picasso says to him, you're not paying me for the 6 hours that it took me to paint your wife. You're paying for the lifetime of training and practice and education, where I've gotten to the point where I can paint this beautiful portrait of your wife in 6 hours. And I think it's the same with a wedding photographer. You're not paying for the necessarily just for the 8 hours that they come to shoot your wedding, and some of the hours afterwards to edit. You're paying for that years of experience and practice and education, where, like for myself, I feel like I can go to any wedding, anytime, under any conditions, in any venue, and do a great job. And that just comes with a lot of experience and practice.
So that leads right into what are the some of the main things that you've learned in doing this for over the last 7 years?
I think I've learned kind of what works and what doesn't work, just by shooting so many weddings. I think the main thing, you develop an intuition of where you need to be when. By shooting so many weddings, like, you just start to see the flow of the day. You just know kind of what's coming up next, and you're able to anticipate, better where you should be, and when something, kind of significance is happening, and you're able to put yourself in the right place at the right time, getting the right angles. So I think that's, that kind of intuition of where you need to be and being in the right place at the right time is something that I've learned, and something that you can only get that by shooting a lot of weddings.
Listen, Josh, your photos are amazing in my book. And if anyone out there wants to get an example of the kind of work this gentleman does, you can go see them, lots of examples, at bowieweddingphotography.ca. You can see him on Facebook. Just search for Josh Bowie on Facebook. Or you can give him a call, 604-897-7689. The nicest wedding photographer in Vancouver, and one of the most skilled that I've ever seen. Thanks a lot, Josh.
Thank you very much, Mark.